Well, at the very, very start, I suppose I would have been part of that group of people that would have been, we were champing at the bit. This is like a lifetime ago now. It would have been the late 80s. And we all knew that something, or in fact, some things needed to be done for rural Northern Ireland. We weren't quite sure what, because we were running around one arm as long as the other. Like, we knew there was a need, but how to meet those needs we weren't sure. But anyway, back then there was a group of us came together. We used to actually meet down in Cookstown Street in a long gone Turkington's upstairs cafe. We used to meet there on a Saturday morning. Just sort of hijacked there. And out of that, I suppose, came the Rural Community Network and the Rural Development Council. That both would have appeared around about the same time. I suppose it's hard to describe exactly what RCN has done, but when I'm driving out through the highways and byways of rural Northern Ireland, like, its legacy's there. Because you'll be driving past a wee community hall and you'll recognise that, jeepers, 25 years ago or more, Niall was doing something there, or there was a talk there, or there was an event, or maybe Michael Hughes or somebody landed in then with a wee modest piece grant at a stage. So it's left a legacy all over the place, there's no doubt about that. And even though it's a very trite thing to say, but the place we're in now is part of it. Like, we started life as an outfit that was stealing a cafe down in the middle of Cookstown town to meet in. There's a place of substance here that people can use, people can come, that gives it an identity, and it's a good place. I hope it's a good place. And now that there's people on the payroll, when there's a team of staff, you got it. I was saying in the commercial world, you can't do for your customers what you don't do for your staff. So if you have people on board, you need a good place for them to work in, and here it is. And that's part of the legacy too. That's part of the delivery.
The organisation has evolved because of the environment we work in. I mean, don't forget we were involved in Piece 1, Piece 2 and 3, and we were involved in Big Lottery. So the whole changed financial environment was healthier back then than it is now. And the organisation has this reputation based on the contributions of past members and past chairs and past board members, who may no longer be with us or members of this organisation, but because of their achievements, we are where we are now. Well, I think one of the big things that we did in the last 4 years was to develop a more mature relationship with Stormont and the MLAs. We have acquired a lobbying reputation. We get a lot of inquiries from MLAs with regard to rural matters, and we supply them with accurate and factual information. And I do think that work is appreciated and valued, but we do need a much better funding background in order to grow our organisation, because we're only down to 6 now, and there is more work to be done.
I'm Chief Executive of EasyLink Community Transport, and we provide rural community transport services across Omagh, Strabane and rural Derry. We've been a member of RCN for over 12 years. As a collective, there are 11 community transport providers across Northern Ireland, and we've engaged with RCN on a number of issues, primarily around transport in rural areas. It definitely gives a stronger voice. I mean, we can go as a single organisation to try and change policy or make differences, but it makes a huge difference when you have the weight of a large membership organisation like RCN. That gives us a great strength in our argument and our voice. So there's big benefits there, being part of a large network organisation with a very much a rural focus.
Being a member of the Rural Residents Forum, to me, has been a learning curve. I have learned an awful lot. It has educated me in many ways, and we're taking part in so many big issues. With the help, obviously, RCN are instigating it all, and it's absolutely brilliant, and I think we're getting things done, and it's a nice group to meet with.
Sometimes easy for individuals and small organisations for their voice to be lost in the general consultation process and getting their point of view across. But the way that RCN can collectively represent the views of their members, and then with authority, because they've got the membership base, actually express that to government bodies or statutory agencies, that gives them then the ability to influence policy as it's being developed.
As a rural person myself, and someone who's been volunteering and supporting different groups and organisations in my own rural area for a long number of years, I've been interested in the impact of that, and interested in learning how we can explore new ways of working with on a regional basis, I suppose. And having worked with Kate before, I felt that I was interested in exploring that. And an organisation like the Rural Community Network is at the forefront of good practice, and I think that I'm looking forward to seeing what can I learn that will improve my own personal practice and how I share that with other groups.
Obviously, Brexit will change our relationship with Europe, and with all changes, I suppose, there comes threats and there comes opportunities. It does actually maybe distance us from a large rural development resource, because within the rural development programme throughout Europe, there is a great library of expertise and resources. And I think that when you go into other countries and see at the basic stage that they are at, not all countries but many countries are at a much more infinite stage in the rural development journey. And I think we have a lot which we could actually contribute to those countries. One of the things that came out to me was just how far that we had travelled and the changes that has meant on the ground to communities and to individual lives, because at the end of the day, community development is about people.
The Millennium Halls programme was something that RCN took on. It was to create 54 community halls across Northern Ireland, and it was an exciting programme at the time because RCN was coming into it, something new and fresh for them to do, and at that stage they had also been an intermediary funding body, what a mouthful, for the Peace programme. I think it was Peace 2. At that stage, for RCN to be involved in Peace was brilliant, because they already had connections with community groups. So often, policy in particular loses sight of the fact that they're somewhere outside of Belfast, and not just Derry, but there's a big bit in the middle too. And a lot of things are Belfast centric, not just in what they're doing, but in how they've listened, and that's why the work of RCN is so important.
Northern Ireland Rural's Women's Network has been in existence about 10 years, and it really acts as the rural voice for women across Northern Ireland living in rural communities. That's individual women, all ages. So from that point of view, it's been around and it's been there, and its role in a nutshell is to take truth to power, which is basically to influence the policies and the practices and the services that have an impact on the lives of rural women, and very often women and children in rural Northern Ireland. Nirwin is a very small rural organisation. It punches above its weight. I happen to think RCN punches above its weight also, and we lean on RCN to really work with us and to act as the lead role in a lot of these, and we're very supportive of everything that RCN does.
Need outfits like this that'll sometimes a wee bit semi-detached, and you can take a step back and do a wee bit of work and do a bit of research and maybe get a bit of money from somewhere to run a programme on something new or weird or wonderful, just to see how it would work or what would happen as a result. So that's needed. We do need that, there's no doubt.
It's clear they know what they want to be doing, that voice of rural people and speaking up for the rural issues. So I think it's important that we all weigh in behind that. The more people who get involved and put their shoulder to the wheel, it can only help the network as a whole.
We ended up with having a very powerful, strong message to government around what the issues were for rural women, and that was very much as a result of the partnership with RCN. It literally would not have happened without RCN support.
Where there's going to be a requirement that all government departments and councils or whatever demonstrate that they have engaged with rural communities and taken the view of rural communities into account, that one way of effectively doing that is to engage with a regional organisation, and there's no one better than RCN to fulfil that role.
In the early days we talked about RCN articulating the voice of your rural communities, which is still so crucial. There's never been a greater need for good community relations work than there is now.